Hi, I'm Story with Homestead with a View, and for those of you that haven't been following very long, we are a fully off-grid homestead, and a lot of what we do is our honeybee business as well as my fiber work. So today I'm going to talk about something that I've been working on with my brother's drum carder. It's a standard, so it's rather large. I have been doing a kind of recycling program with mohair cinch makers. I myself am a weaver, and I also make mohair cinches. So one day when I was weaving it, I was looking at the ends that I have that are just a little too short to do any work with. And as a spinner, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I think I can reuse these. And so I have my bundle of 2-ply that I'm now going to dismantle. So I have a few tips and tricks if you want to dismantle it yourself, or if you're trying to make new yarn out of scraps. So basically I take my strand of 2-ply, I'm going to fold it a few times until my folds equate to about 4 inches. And then I just cut my strands so that I have individual pieces that are about 4 inches. Now to dismantle the ply, you're going to twist it counter and then push a finger through the middle and then slide out. Super, super easy. And then I just have a bag ready with those color combos. And then again, counter twist, push your finger through, and slide out. If you're using too long of a strand, let me grab an example. So like this, if you go to pull the ply from the end, watch what happens. It starts to felt in the middle. And so it's because of the friction that you're causing by pulling it that way. So about 4 inches, that was about 4 inches. So 4 inch is the sweet spot from what I've found. So just cut that piece off. Now you have two separate strands, and then fold it again. Anything longer than 4 inches, just it gives me issues. So I choose to just snip, snip, snip. Okay. So with the Brothers Drum Carder, I don't actually want this to go through all of my fine teeth. There's a small drum and then there's a larger drum. My first round, I am just pulling ply apart. You can do this by hand. So originally when I started doing this, I did not have my drum carder. I was using hand cards. So I have 2 of these, and basically you load the carder with the strands, and you'll start to see that it's opening up that strand. So the twist is actually coming apart at that point, and it's becoming fiber again. And then at that point, once I have fiber again, I can blend and spin. So I can just do this, which this used to be really hard on my wrists, and I was kind of over it after doing about 8 to 10 ounces this way. And then I ordered myself on my birthday last year, my drum carder. And so I have been using it ever since. So basically, I would use the other card and go up against it, and then I'll pull the rest of the strands apart, and then I'll have nice fluffy fiber to work with. But what I wanted to show you is how I do it now that I have a drum carder. This equipment itself you can do at home if you're a cinch maker. The cards themselves for a set of 2 is about $80 plus shipping, so they're not super cheap, but they are super durable. I would suggest if you ever find a set at an antique store or what have you, usually the teeth just work a lot better after using them for quite a while. They start to grip and pull it apart a little easier than at first. It's really sticky and you can't pull the cards through each other. So my strands, I'm going to add them to the large drum like so, just kind of the same method that I did with the hand card, and then twist the drum, and it'll start to pull the fiber away from your little bundle of strands. So as you can see, it's starting to become more hair-like, and I can turn my bundle so that it gets every little strand opened, and then eventually it'll just pull the rest onto the drum itself. If you see spots like this, sometimes they're knots, and so you want to pull that off because you don't want to have knots in your final bat. Because it's going to make your yarn really clumpy, which if you're okay with an artistic yarn, that's fine. But for me, I'm trying to make this reusable for cinch making, so I want to make another 2-ply out of the scraps. So I just go ahead, if it's a knot, I would pull it out and toss it, or put it in a pile for art yarn. But otherwise, you can just grab it and make sure that it pulls apart just like so. So I have quite a few scraps I've already split and then cut. So this was originally mostly 2-ply. There was some 8-ply in here, and I just pull it apart. And then again, it opens that follicle really nicely, so you can turn it over and then do the other side. And I like to grab different colors and just kind of throw them on the drum. You can do an organized effect if you want. So if you were to layer your colors, let's say if you did a rainbow, you're going to see the transition of those, you know, Roy G. Biv. So you're going to see if you started with red, yellow, and blue, you're going to have those greens and the transition colors as well. So really fun effects you can do on this. But I'm just going to kind of show you. I think I have about 3 ounces of fiber here that I'm working with, or scrap strands, sorry. And again, sometimes you're going to end up with these felted strands. They're kind of over twisted sometimes, or maybe they were hand dyed. And then the other thing that happens too is if any kind of moisture got on them at some point, and then friction, that's going to cause felting. Felting is a compaction of the fibers, and pretty much once it felts, it does not want to come apart. So really what I'm looking for, again, is that nice fluffy cloud. If I'm not getting that, I will pull those individual strands. This batch looks really, really nice. I haven't really seen any felted pieces. It does happen though, like it's not anyone's fault. You can't blame anyone. I mean, there are reasons that cause it, right? But sometimes it's just, you know, you can't, when you buy fiber from someone that hand dyed or what have you, you don't know how long they let it sit in the boil pot, or maybe it just wasn't handled with very much care in the shipping process. And again, I like to blend my colors, so I just kind of throw it on there anywhere I see fit. And then every now and then, my teeth, you'll start to see the fibers are getting really up close to the top. And so that second drum will try to drag some of those fibers back down, but sometimes it needs a little assistance. And so what I do is I grab my card and I just set it on there and hold it down and very gently just go around. My hand card covers the entire thing, so I don't have to sit there with a little tiny brush and go back and forth. It works pretty well just to do 1 or 2 rounds. Hey, knock it off. No. Okay, so now my large drum is pretty much filled with fiber. There's a little groove in here to remove the bat. This is called a bat once it's all blended on here. And I don't have the actual tool yet for removing the fiber from the drum, but I just use a pen. It works fine. Just watch the teeth. You don't really want to bend them out of line. A few of mine have already bent, but sometimes I get a little aggressive with it with my hand carder. But anyways, then you're going to take a dowel or what have you. I just use the pen and roll it onto itself as you pull it away. The drum will never be perfectly clean, but I just take a toothpick and clean that out. And then I have a bag for all my tidbits from both sides of the drum as well as the hand card. Anything that sticks to it, I go ahead and pull off. And then at the end, after about 8 or 9 bats, I will use that scrap bag and make an artistic yarn. So again, if you're getting knots on the drum, when you go to pull those knots, you can just throw it in that bag. And then, so I'm just rolling it, and then it will come off here in a second. And so this is technically a bat, and I just unroll it on the countertop usually, but I want you guys to see this. So on the bottom side, you can still see strands that are together, and so that's not ideal. I want to break this all up so it's a fiber cloud. And so what I do is I split it in half, and then I stack it. I know this looks like a hot mess. I usually do it on a countertop. And then that kind of not so greatly blended stuff, I just put on top and run it through the feed. And so when I do it this way, I do have to stop occasionally, so I'll have to stop the fibers from getting rolled into the drum. So I'll just pull it away and then stop for a minute to use my hand card, and that compacts again all the fibers down, as well as helps card as it's going by. So this is kind of like almost a triple carding process, I would say. You know, it really only goes through my drum twice. But with the hand card and everything, I'm kind of getting like that 3rd round. And so I just spin it, I load it, Any of the unlined fibers will kind of get stuck on your smaller drum. So that's just a great spot, again, to pull fiber for your artistic yarn. And I use a toothpick. I don't have any special tool, but basically the fiber gets kind of trapped on the larger or the smaller drum. And so I just kind of go through with a toothpick and pick it up. And as it gets picked up, the next time I go around with the large drum, it'll pick more and more of this fiber up. Right now, it needs to be hand carded because you can see, well, you can't really tell on the video, but I can see that the fibers are above the teeth now. And so that's telling me that it just needs to be compacted a little bit more before I drum the other stuff. So again, let's do this. And then by the end of it, there's a lot less fibers on this smaller drum. So basically what I've picked up gets sucked into the bigger drum. And then I'm not done with that bat yet, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put it back in the feed, being careful not to get it tangled up in my gears or anything. And holding it down on the board makes it take up less fiber at a time. Sometimes it can get sucked in there too quickly and then it kind of bogs the machine down. So just kind of pulling and holding it down if there's just too much fiber. Grab my handy dandy tool, aka a pen, stick it in here, pull up the fiber, then roll the fiber, and then this time when I pull it off the drum, you're going to see that it's a lot better and blended. It's not strands of yarn from the original. You can't really tell that it's come from a pre-made yarn. Okay, so boom. I know the lighting's kind of weird in here. It's hard to see. You really can't tell how pretty this is. It just looks kind of boring with the lighting. Maybe if I put my head in the way. So there's a little bit of peach in there, and I think that's from the sand blending with the reds and the lighter pinks. But I'm happy with it. I usually just fold it and then I roll it into itself. And then I bag it, and then the other bat gets created, and then I'm ready to spin whenever I'm ready to spin, which usually I am carding